Hi, I'm Kayla Montalvo.
And I'm Jalen Sturdivant. Welcome to Connected Cultures. This week we will be looking into Egypt.
In this episode, we will be looking into COVID in Egypt, history, traditions, and more.
But first, let's hear from Sydney and Jimmy Saeed about education in Egypt and how it differs, as well as the Egyptian Revolution.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So you're a sophomore here at App State, but you grew up in Cairo. Could you tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up there?
It's pretty nice. I grew up having a lot of freedom, so I could always do like whatever I want, whenever I wanted to. After obviously like elementary school, but like after that, there's not much rules and like laws that stop people from doing anything. So I guess it's nice, and it doesn't rain much there. And so our like all year long, it's pretty warm. So it's not like here where like you have like rain like maybe like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Our winters are like the spring here, so it's pretty warm.
Oh, it's awesome. And you said you went to Cairo American College, which is your school in Cairo. What was school like there?
It was good. It was a bit tough though, because I think they were doing both the AP classes and the IB classes, and so they're trying to prepare us for like the real world and like university and stuff. So it got pretty like tough. We had like a lot of like requirements, and we had to like travel once every year for a week abroad, to do this thing called it's called Week Without Walls, where we traveled to do like community service like all around the world. It's like I think like Germany, Croatia, South Africa, Kenya. There's like a lot of countries, and like every year it changes, so it's nice. And I think I had friends from like all over. I had like some Egyptian friends, obviously, and then like friends from like almost like every country I can think of, like Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Germany, France, Italy, England. So yeah, like Korea, China, Japan. I like a lot of friends from like all over the world. So it was nice to like get to know people from like different cultures and like learn more about like how like they live.
Did that help with like your language development? You said you speak a couple of languages.
I grew up speaking Arabic, and then I learned like kind of like English like simultaneously, because like my parents spoke both languages. And so like my whole family. So it's I just grew up speaking them both. But then like when I moved to Cairo American College, that's where like I got like my English got better, because it was based on like the American curriculum, and they were trying to like, I guess like it just developed there over time.
And when you said you moved to the States as a junior. When you came here, I think you did private and public school in Charlotte.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference or comparison between education in America and education in Egypt?
Education in Egypt was definitely like harder, and like it was more rigorous, because I feel like they want people to be able to fit like into any program abroad when they go to university. And then like obviously my school there wasn't that big, so it was like I think 1,200 people after the Egyptian Revolution, and that's like K through 12. So it's like elementary, middle school, and high school. Versus here, when I went to Providence High School, I think it was I'm not sure like how big it was, but I know I had like probably like 500-600, or maybe even a bit less people in like my graduating class. So that was like a big difference. I wasn't used to like going into the hallway and seeing like what I saw on the TV, like just a bunch of people like walking like back and forth, and so it was interesting. And then when I went to Charlotte Catholic High School, which is a private school, it was a bit smaller, but I have never been to like a religious school. I always like just like did like whatever we wanted, but there is like it was very formal. Like you have to wear like a certain shirt and like certain pants, and like we had like I think mass every like once a month.
And you said you did experience some of the Egyptian revolution when you were in Cairo. What was that like?
It was, I mean, it was pretty scary because I think I was, uh, I'm not sure. I think it was like 2011. I think I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old um, when it first started, and like uh, I didn't really know or understand what was going on. I just like knew that like the country wasn't like people weren't happy with what was going on, and like you'd like hear like people like you'd have like the police eventually like resigned, so like we didn't have anybody to protect like the people, I guess, and like the military are not allowed to operate within a country. It's only like made for like to operate like outside the country. So it was like the people like had to protect themselves in like their neighborhoods. So like you'd find like people like um sitting in like their neighborhoods with like they just take like a big log and like block the street and then like make like a campfire and like put like spikes on the logs so like people can't go in with their cars. And then like the people in the streets would just have like weapons like guns just on them to protect like the neighborhood. And like people patrolling the area because like people would like there are people who would just break into houses and like steal people's stuff and like looting stores. And then like it got a bit better after a while, and like I think like some of like the most like memorable things are like I think I was like I was still young, but like I was like trying to participate in like helping like the neighborhood stay safe. It was like me and my brothers and my father, so like we just like stayed like down like with the people, and then like I heard like I felt like the ground shaking, and we were pretty close to the presidential palace where like they're trying to overthrow the president, and so like I think it was like so many people walking that like the ground started to shake. So that was pretty scary. And then like obviously like the fighter jets and like tanks all over. But then like after a while like I kind of got used to it, and then like it just completely went away where like I didn't really see any of that like stuff. And then like I think my school, like Cairo American College, was like a military like SEAL like landing base where like I think they had like Navy SEALs enter to like evacuate the Americans. It was pretty crazy though.
Oh my goodness, it definitely sounds like you've lived through so much. But then you started the college chapter of your life. What made ASU stand out? Did you ever consider going to college back in Cairo?
University in Cairo they're pretty expensive, like in like comparison to like here, and they're not as good. So you don't really get like what you pay for. And then I also came to like high school here for my last 2 years. So I guess like I just wanted to like continue my experience like in the US. And I chose like specifically App State because like I really like the outdoors. I like hiking. Um, I haven't learned snowboarding and skiing, but I want to do that like soon. But like and then like I have a twin brother who also but he goes to UNC Charlotte, so like I didn't choose that like any like that school or like some of the others because like I just enjoy the outdoors more.
Oh, that's awesome. I know this is definitely an outdoorsy school. Um,
Yeah.
what advice would you give someone if they were thinking about studying abroad in Cairo?
Uh, I guess have fun. Meet like meet new people. Don't be scared. It's pretty safe, and so I guess and it's pretty cheap. So it's I guess just have fun and yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. You were awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
This year marks the 10th anniversary of the 2011 Egyptian Revolution. For 18 days in January and February, Egyptian citizens took to the streets and protested poverty, corruption, and political repression. The uprising was aimed toward removing one of the region's longest-serving and most influential leaders, President Hosni Mubarak, from power. On January 25, 2011, thousands of protesters gathered in Cairo and several other Egyptian cities to demonstrate. They called for President Mubarak to step down immediately so the country could experience free elections and democracy. Protesters in Cairo who were chanting anti-Mubarak slogans clashed with police, resulting in the intentional use of water cannons and tear gas on citizens. As the demonstrations against President Mubarak gathered momentum, he facilitated increasingly violent tactics against the protesters. On January 28, 2011, the anti-Mubarak movement intensified when protesters and police clashed again following Friday prayers. The national headquarters of President Mubarak's party, the National Democratic Party located in Cairo, was burned by demonstrators. President Mubarak imposed a curfew and deployed army units to try and suppress protesters. Internet and telephone services were suspended in Egypt in an attempt to dissolve demonstration efforts. President Mubarak tried to appease protesters by announcing the appointment of a vice president, the first one in his 30-year regime, and by pledging he would step down at the end of his term in 2011. Neither compromise proved effective, and the demonstrations continued. On February 11, 2011, after almost 3 weeks of mass demonstrations, Mubarak finally succumbed to the country's pressure and stepped down as president. In April of 2011, an Egyptian fact-finding commission was tasked with investigating the clashes between protesters and police during the uprising. The commission announced that between January 25th and February 11th, 2011, an estimated 846 people were killed and 6,400 people were injured. The commission concluded that most of the fatalities were caused by the security services' deliberate use of lethal force. In May of 2011, a public prosecutor representing Egypt announced that Hosni Mubarak would stand trial for ordering the security services to kill protesters, as well as charges related to corruption and abuse of power. The trial was set to begin in August of 2011. On June 2, 2012, Hosni Mubarak was convicted for ordering the mass killing of protesters during the 2011 Egyptian Revolution. He was sentenced to life in prison. In remarks by the president on Egypt, then U.S. President Barack Obama said, "There are very few moments in our lives where we have the privilege to witness history taking place. This is one of those moments. This is one of those times. The people of Egypt have spoken, their voices have been heard, and Egypt will never be the same. For what they did, of the things that they stood for, and how they changed their country, and in doing so, changed the world."
Wow, thank you so much, Sydney. It was a pleasure, and it was so interesting learning about life in Cairo.
I also think it was really interesting how much he went through at such a young age.
Definitely.
Now, let's go take a look at Egyptian history, as well as Islam and the Quran.
Egypt, home to one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and nearly 100 million people.
Egypt is a country filled with history and beautiful landmarks such as the Great Pyramids of Giza. The Great Pyramids of Giza are the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing today. These were built roughly 4,500 years ago and are relics of Egypt's past. The Great Pyramids of Giza can be found at the edge of the Western Desert, a desert that makes up nearly 2/3 of Egypt's land area. This causes Egypt's climate to be hot and sunny and sometimes have extreme temperatures during the summer. Because the desert takes up most of Egypt's land, the country gets less than an inch of rainfall every year. This rainfall typically happens during the winter in the northern part of Egypt near the Mediterranean Sea. And it is actually this sea that helps keep the northern part of Egypt at moderate temperatures. As we can see, Egypt isn't just desert land. There are several destinations and bodies of water where people can visit. Places such as El Gouna were built along the shore of the Red Sea. With turquoise waters and sandy beaches, people come here with their boats and spend their day in the ocean. El Gouna also has several small museums and aquariums for people to visit during their stay. Another top visited spot in Egypt is the Nile. The Nile River is one of the largest in the world and flows 4,100 miles from south to north, emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. This river is what separates the western and eastern desert into unequal parts. It is also good for transportation, agriculture, fishing, and supporting cities. Because the country is mostly desert, the Nile Valley is an important part of agriculture within Egypt. This is where lush green vegetation and many biological resources can be found. The Nile is so important that nearly 95% of Egyptians live within a few miles of the river. It is also home to different wildlife such as snakes, turtles, and the Nile crocodiles. Off the western bank of the river near Luxor, you can find the Valley of Kings, an elaborate collection of hidden underground mausoleums. These are burial sites for pharaohs that were filled with things such as golden masks, furniture, clothing, and jewelry.
This is a popular destination that holds many mysteries and is still being explored today.
Egypt has several major cities, each with its own unique history and lifestyle. Luxor is where you can find tombs and monuments. The city of Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE, and Cairo, the capital of Egypt, is home to nearly 20 million people and one of the largest cities in the world. Egypt is filled with so much history. Its ancient historical attractions are still being explored, and it has one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Egypt is a country with modern attractions and beautiful sights.
From the pyramids to the sea, Egypt has so much to offer. It is a country filled with a rich culture waiting to be experienced.
In Egypt, the majority religion is Islam. 90% of the population are Muslim, with around 10% of them being Christian. Since 1971, the constitution has declared Islam as the state religion. Beginning in the 7th century, Islam was introduced to Egypt due to an Islamic conquest. There was little done to disturb these traditions in those countries. In Egypt, while there was life that remained unchanged from the occupation, the new Islamic Egyptian civilization was diverging from old values and traditions gradually. Al-Fustat, south of modern Cairo, was the earliest Arab settlement in Egypt and the location of the province's first mosque. Egypt is also home to Al-Azhar University, which was one of the oldest institutions of Islamic education in the world. In modern-day Cairo, Egypt, Islam is the forefront religion. Most people in Cairo are Muslim, meaning there are mosques throughout all the city, including the Mosque of Ibn Tulun, the oldest mosque in Egypt to remain in its full original form. The mosque is red brick, surrounded by 3 outer courtyards, making it the largest mosque in Cairo in land area. The courtyards are also lined with wide arches and pillars that are decorated with carved stucco. In Egypt, mosques range from large to small, and it's important for them to be accessible, as every Friday Muslims gather at noon for prayer. Because of this, businesses, schools, and offices are closed on Fridays. The local population observes holidays such as the main ones, Ramadan, Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr, the Islamic New Year, and Prophet Muhammad's birthday. Ramadan being the holy 9th month of the Islamic calendar, those Muslims who observe will fast from sunrise to sunset. The first day of the next month, Shawwal, is the holiday Eid al-Fitr, which means celebration of breaking of the fast. This lasts around 3 or 4 days, where people gather to mosques for food, and it's traditional for people to buy new clothes and children will receive gifts. A popular practice of Islam is through oral tradition. It's common for people who lead mosque prayers, or imams, will memorize the entire Quran to recite verses on religious holidays and other occasions. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا The memory and recitation of the Quran is considered important among its citizens. The way the Quran is recited can be interpreted as music and song, making oral tradition a most beautiful and sacred practice within Islam. There is an annual Islamic competition where people from around the world are tested on how well they can recite the Quran. This competition is called the International Holy Quran Competition, taking place in Cairo, Egypt. Children will even participate coming from non-Arab countries who don't have a proper understanding of Arabic. If you want more information on how the competition operates, there's a documentary called Quran by Heart from 2011, directed by Greg Barker. It is a highly informative film that highlights the beautiful tradition of Quran recitation, shows the diversity of believers of Islam, and it shows the rich experiences one can have traveling abroad. Despite the gradual growth of Islam, Egypt has become a hub for Muslims to appreciate and participate in the religion and traditions.
Thank you, Nate and Sydney. We should definitely watch Quran by Heart.
I agree. Now let's see how Egypt has been handling the coronavirus.
Residents of Egypt are beginning to relax as expected vaccinations are set to arrive for the coronavirus soon and are expected to be over 300,000 doses. Egypt has been expecting vaccination doses since February, as they have received 100,000 doses so far. Due to Egypt's strong connections and good standing with many outside countries, it has managed to strike international deals for the importation of 100 million vaccine doses. In addition, 233 confirmed cases were discharged from isolation hospitals, which raised the number of recovered cases to 133,331. However, a third wave of the virus is expected to hit the country in March, as the country has a total of 171,390 cases and a total of 9,804 deaths, alongside the aforementioned 133,331 recovered cases. As the country awaits the vaccination doses that were received from the vaccination campaign of January, authorities are being urged by the government to strictly enforce the mask mandate. In addition to the vaccination doses being brought into the country, the first doses are reserved for healthcare workers, the elderly, and anyone else who may be at risk. The country is currently using China's Sinopharm vaccine and has already received doses of the UK's Astra-Oxford. The Minister of Education and Technical Education, Tariq Shaki, has recently announced the plans for the spring 2021 school semester. Exams for high school seniors, also known as the Nawewa Amma, will be electronic instead of in-person and will not take place before July. The monthly exams will be scheduled for March, April, and May. The exams are set to be available across various platforms for the sake of remote education. Attending classes for the spring 2021 semester in person will be optional, with the requirement being that students must have a signature from a parent/guardian. The controversial Nile Dam is still continuing to be constructed in July this year, regardless of the state of negotiations between Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. The controversy behind the Nile Dam being built is the fear of the vital water supplies affecting the countries of Egypt and Sudan, including the fact that the dam itself is estimated to be $4.6 billion. In addition, the countries of Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan have been in an agreement of negotiations for the dam for almost a decade. Now, the purpose of the negotiations were primarily for the filling of the dam and for its construction. The dam has a 145-meter-tall reservoir that had its first filling in July of 2020. Recently, the Ministry of Health announced that the isolation hospitals hit 78% for recovery cases from COVID, which makes the total number of recovered cases 132,375. As of now, Egypt is currently ranked 49th among world countries for recovery rates, and 141st in the world for infections based on per 1 million people. The head of the scientific committee in charge of combating corona has prepared a plan in order to deal with COVID and stated that the school's plan guarantees full protection for all students. Egypt is planning on applying 6,000 clinical trials. However, in the case that 215 people were infected with COVID, the vaccine will be dismantled and research will be halted. Residents of Egypt are believing that 2021 will be a much better year. Regarding the vaccine and receiving it once it arrives, residents are mostly confident and strongly believe that it'll work. More than 67% of residents are feeling optimistic and agree that the vaccine for COVID-19 is the best option in getting protection and safety from the ongoing pandemic. According to the Ministry of Health, the vaccine for COVID-19 is not only recommended, but highly encouraged and has been given much reassurance for the public after medical staff members at isolation hospitals refused the Chinese coronavirus vaccine. The ministry has reassured that there are only a few minor side effects that an average person may experience. Alongside that, the ministry has assured safety measures by providing those who receive the vaccine with follow-up teams. Also to note, after the first initial shot of the vaccine, a second dose is administered 21 days later. The ministry has noted that those who have received the vaccine so far have not shown nor developed any symptoms and believe that the turnout for vaccines to be on the rise. Thank you for watching. Join us on March 4th at 10 a.m. to learn about Venezuela.
See you next week.